All right, lots of stuff going on in the baseball world. We'll talk Guardians coming up. The Rafael Devers deal. Shohei's on the mound tonight. Aaron Judge is just punishing baseballs. Let's bring in Bob Nightengale, outstanding baseball writer for USA Today Sports. Bob, good afternoon. Welcome to the program.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you.
Hey, good. Thanks for coming on today. I know you're busy. Let's get right to it. We'll talk about the Guardians in a minute if I can stomach it. The Rafael Devers trade, did that catch you off guard? And what do you make of that deal that happened over the weekend?
Yeah, it did. I think it caught everybody
I think
off guard because nobody knew he was available. I think, if this happened during the winter, yeah, but, I talked to a couple of GMs. They didn't even know he was being shot. I walked to the Padre clubhouse yesterday right afterwards. They couldn't believe it. I had one of when the guys called Devers for me and said, "Oh yeah, I just got traded." And but yeah, I think it caught the whole industry by surprise. It does remind you of the NBA with Doncic.
Yes.
To LA.
Yes.
Because there's no rumors about that either. Same thing. Yeah.
I was really surprised, and so I guess my follow-up would be, why did this happen? Why did they just signed him to that huge contract extension? Was this all money related? Has he been a little bit unhappy behind the curtain in Boston? Why did they do this deal?
Yeah, I think absolutely. They were, he was unhappy with them and they were infuriated at him. When he refused to go to first base, It's like, wait a minute now, we could use you. Bregman goes down. Hey, can you play third base for a little bit? Nope, not doing that either. Not taking ground balls there. And they said, man, we just gave you $313 million. You're supposed to be the face of the franchise, and you're not being a team guy. So behind the scenes, they were just seething, and then took advantage. And said, you know what, let's move this guy and get him out of here.
And which was even more wild. They come off of taking care of the Yankees over the weekend. They got a little win streak going on. They're making their way up a little bit as far as the wild card is concerned, and they let this big trade happen. And talk about the haul in return that the Red Sox got from San Francisco.
I mean, not much. Pretty much the big return was salary relief. So they saved themselves about $260 million. One good starting pitcher in Harrison. He's like fourth, fifth starter, maybe third at best. A middle reliever in Jordan Hicks. They had to get their number one draft choice from a year ago, and then a fringe prospect after that. So, it's pretty much set. Just saying, we're going to save about $260 million. They did take on Hicks contracts. They probably save more like $240, $235 million. It was pretty much just a salary relief. Okay, now let's see what they do with that money next winter.
No kidding. Usually something we don't talk about as far as the Boston Red Sox, and that's salary dumping, but they sure did it yesterday. Bob Nightengale is our guest, does a great job writing baseball. USA Today, check him out, has great stuff going every day. Check him out on social medias as well. Okay, I'm excited tonight, Bob. I'm sitting here in Northeast Ohio. I'm going to stay up extra late tonight. I'm going to watch Shohei Ohtani take the mound against the Padres. What should we look for tonight when he takes the mound for the first time since, coming off that surgery? And what's Dave Roberts hoping for?
Well, you won't have to stay up too late because he's only going to go one inning.
Oh, no.
So it's like this is his rehab.
Okay.
He's been pitching, a couple innings on the side, once a week. So I think the plan tonight is one inning. Next week, okay, maybe two. Week after that, three. Then you got the All-Star break. And go from there. So this is like a little rehab assignment, only against, in games that count.
What do you think that the time clock is on Shohei as to far as, get back full steam into that starting rotation? What are they looking at there, you think?
I think probably August. I think after the All-Star break, hey, if you give us, 4 innings and maybe 5, and after that, 6. And, then they'll probably put the breaks on, and they don't want him to throw 2 innings because they want him to be, fresh for October after going through, this is what they did a year ago when they only had 3 healthy arms for the starting rotation. So I think they'll, be very, very cautious up until October. So, but yeah, I think, after the All-Star break, eventually, 5, 6 innings.
That'll be something to look forward to. I obviously we love watching him hit, but you get the bonus now. Maybe you mentioned maybe like around August, they'll get out there every 3 or 4 or 5 days, and we'll get to watch them do that. That's going to be great theater right there. All right, Bob, I put it off as long as I could. We got to talk Cleveland Guardians here. They had a very rough weekend in Seattle, shut out again yesterday. I'm hearing rumors that possibly they're going to maybe move on from Stephen Kwan if the price is right here in the next couple of months, if they don't get things together. From your view, where you are, where do you sit with the Cleveland Guardians? They're right at 500, Bob, 35-35. What do you see?
Yeah, I mean, disappointing, but so are the Minnesota Twins. So it's so are the Kansas City Royals. So certainly a wild card spot is still open. The American League is down. The National League is so much better now. I've never seen such a disparity when the National League has been this much better than the American League. But yeah, I mean, you got to still hang in the hunt and go for it. Maybe guys come back like Cobb and those sort of things. So I don't see him being sold at the deadline. I really don't. I think either to stay pat, or make some mild improvements. So they're not that far. They're not that much further away than they were a year ago. A year ago, they caught everybody by surprise. But, hey, Minnesota doesn't look like they're going to go anywhere. KC's really hit the skids lately. So that's why I think it's, and that wild card spot is still wide open.
Yeah, the one thing, and I just mentioned before we brought you on, Cleveland, Minnesota, Kansas City, all 2-8 in their last 10. Even Detroit's cooled off a little bit. They're 5-5 in their last 10, but they still are 46-12 and 27, have a pretty big lead in their division. So you don't think the Guards will be sellers at the trade deadline then, right?
I really don't. I mean, just because the wild cards are wide open. It's not like you're playing in the National League West or something like that. When you look around, there's not that many good teams. Hey, Boston just surrendered by this trade. They're not. They should not make the playoffs after trading Wade Devers. You still got Tampa Bay in the mix, obviously. I mean, I don't even think Baltimore's out of it. I really don't.
Wow.
Despite being whatever 30-40 and just crazy things happen. When you look at the Nationals when they won the World Series, Atlanta when they won the World Series a few years ago, just horrendous starts. So I think milling around 500, they can still get back into this thing and get a playoff spot.
Interesting. Oh, you're giving us a little bit of hope there. Guardians 35-35. They open up a series tonight against San Francisco, and then they go to Sacramento to take on the A's before the Guardians finally come back home. Bob, you mentioned Baltimore. I am still kind of stunned at where they are, 30-40 after that unbelievable season they had last year. The injuries, what happened with Baltimore?
Well, I think just a lot of those young kids are counting on kind of took a step back. A lot of those young kids are underachieving. And, where I put the blame on the front office, I thought it should have been much more aggressive during the winter.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, you got new ownership, spend some money here. So, and they made a nice, big short-term contract for Corbin Burns, and that was it. Got Sugano, who's they've been fortunate with him. He's pitched very well for him. But, Charlie Morton's, coming around now, but just didn't try to get a big guy. Didn't try to get a Max Fried or some of these type of guys. And I think it's costing him. That being said, I still think they have enough firepower, to at least hang around.
Interesting. I'm looking at the division leaders now: the Yankees, the Tigers, and the Astros. Just to chop it up, Bob. Who's the most impressive out of that three right there?
I'm sorry, you said Astros and who?
Astros, Tigers, Yankees. They all lead their divisions. In your mind, who's the best of that bunch?
I might go Tigers.
Okay.
Obviously, you get the best pitcher on the planet in Skubal, and I just think they are very good. They don't have an MVP type candidate or anything like that. But what we saw in September of last year, they're kind of feeding off that. Yankees are solid even without Corbin Burns. Even without their stud Garrett Cole, and still a very good team. I think Houston's the worst of the three. I think the AL West is a lot more down than anybody expected. They're still a solid team, but I don't think they're a great team. I think it surprised a lot of folks, if they made the World Series.
Bob Nightengale, USA Today. Baseball does a tremendous job, Bob. We always appreciate your time, and enjoy the baseball and have a great rest of your week.
All right. You too. My pleasure. Thanks so much.
You bet. There he goes, Bob Nightengale from USA Today. Talk a little baseball here on 1310 WDP.